Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is David from Daveden Web Dev, and on this channel we are always talking about things like accessibility, dynamic data, and exploring everything that we can explore. This channel is more of an exploratory channel, so it's not like we have any like pre-planned work, so it's going to be like a freestyle, if you can think of it like that way. So if you are new here, let me know in the comments what's your name, where are you joining in from, and if Builderius is a plugin that you already use as your page builder or not. Let me know in the comments. Today is just mostly going to be exploring the new Builderius, that is Builderius version 1.3.6 beta. It's still a beta release, even though it has been, I think, about 2 years now, but it's still technically a beta release. So we should get the final release in, I think it'll be in September. They said middle of September we'll get the final release. So let's say roughly about a month from now. And we're starting with this final beta release, and it's packed with all of the remaining features that users have been asking about with relation to Builderius. So let's see. Okay, so I'll just give it a few minutes so that people can join in. If you're just joining in, just let me know in the comments, and just let me know the sound quality. Is it okay? Is it too low? So I'm not just, talking and thinking that everybody is hearing what I'm saying, but I'm speaking to myself. I wouldn't want that. So let me know in the comments. Is the sound quality okay? Is the video quality, are they all okay? And then we'll jump in. But yeah, without wasting so much time, let me go ahead and switch my screen and we check out what we have. Yeah, so now we've gotten Builderius version 1.3.6. Let me go ahead and put it in the comments so that you can follow along. Oh yeah, I forgot to set up my comment system to be able to see it on screen. Is that it? No, that's not it. No, that's not it as well. I'll figure it out. Oh, okay, yeah, I haven't set it up. That's why. Select source. Interesting. Okay, I just have to restart this software. Okay, social stream, and let's see. Make sure everything is set up. Ah. Oh no. So I will not be able to show the comments on screen today. I forgot to set it up beforehand. But yeah, let me pull up the actual YouTube chat. Okay, so if you want to go ahead and check out the release notes for Builderius, I've left it in the chat, and it will also be in the comments. So the first thing you can see is that they've now, this is the overview. We now have history and commits. So basically, one of the problems that we were having with Builderius previously, with the previous version, is that when you start editing, you are always afraid that the moment you make an edit, and you can't actually go back, basically. So you are stuck. If you make a mistake, you are stuck. You have to now go ahead and constantly create a new release just to be safe and say, oh, otherwise if you mistakenly delete an element or something like that, that element is gone. There is no undo for it. Although you could have technically undo if you want using Sense AI. Sense AI is able to access, was able to access some of this history already beforehand. But yeah, that's beside the point. Oh yeah, now they've made it more user accessible, that you can now access your history and commits. They've also added these persistent tabs and the first round of UI UX improvements. So the release what they've brought out is the history. So now let's go ahead and see the full change log. Okay, so I wish they actually made this thing a little bit. It's hard for me to know what is the. It's interesting. Now that I'm looking at this notes, it doesn't really point out what exactly is, you know, the heading. I think this is the heading: history, undo and redo, but it's smaller than the actual text, so you're not really sure where the heading starts and where it ends, or that's just me personally. But yeah, so what they've added is history, undo, redo. They've added a full change history with context-aware undo and redo. Every change is tracked and recorded together with the context it was made in. So if you did something in maybe the dynamic data tab, you get the history records that you did it in the dynamic data tab. If you do it in maybe the CSS tab, the history also tracks that CSS tab. That's what I'm thinking. The HTML tab, the history will also like get access to that and know to return your elements that you deleted or added or edited or renamed or whatever. Okay. Then they added commits, and you're able to preview your commits, because the way Builderius does saves basically is like revisions. What commits are just basically revisions. So let's say you've made some changes, multiple changes. You can now go back to a previous set of changes or like a revision, and you can preview that revision and see, okay, what did I actually do there without actually creating a release. You can check out the commits. It's almost like Git. It's basically like Git, where you have, you know, in Git, first you start making your edits. Once you're happy with your edits, you do what you call a commit with a commit message and a description. Then once you are ready, you can now create a new release on GitHub, so you can cut a new release. But basically the release is just a bunch of commits bundled together to form a release. So that's the same thing that we're having here with Builderius. Then we also have persistent tabs. What this means is that when you switch, you can open multiple like templates to edit. So you have multiple templates and you can switch between those templates and they persist. There's not that delay again when you have to switch between templates. It's very quick. We'll test it out. I haven't tested it out myself. I just saw the video tutorial that I think it was Elvis. He did a video showing the new features. So that's all I've seen. I've not actually tested it out myself. Okay, what else? We have... okay. So they've also added that function from the DBE plugin that I added. That basically they've added the function to be able to open the active template or page in Builderius from the admin bar. So that's also added. Oh, that's nice. I didn't even notice. And then what other improvements have they added? They've added now all icon-based buttons provide tooltips. Okay, they fixed the tooltips for all the icon-based buttons. Elements navigator, we've added the rename elements. The context menu has added rename, auto-BEM, wrap in, and expand children. Okay. Then they've added reorder favorited elements by drag and drop. Okay. Then the HTML tags, you can change your HTML tag of an element from any element, so either from the element tab or from the style tab. So that is content tab or style tab. They've just made it that it's persistent, whereby the HTML tag and the CSS classes persist across the two tabs to make life easy for users. I think I'll check it. The CSS code editor, the CSS toggle button has now moved to the top row, and then one click and then it persists. So wherever you are, it will always be in the CSS code mode. Because like I did a long time ago, I was mentioning that I don't really like this whole like UI for CSS writing because it's very limiting. So now they've come up with like a middle ground whereby you have a persistent button that you just click that button and then it stays that way on code mode. If you deactivate the button, then the code mode deactivates all through. So that is that. And then they've also added CSS scope. So we'll test all these things out now. Okay, so they've now added better drag to resize the canvas. So yeah, that's something I want to also test. The canvas. So basically you can now, like, the preview area, before it was just stock, but now you can drag the preview area to be small to check out, maybe like for people who prefer to do things like what's it called, container queries. So now you will have an easier way to do container queries because you can see the pixel value at the top bar, and you can easily drag and increase and reduce the size of your preview area. Okay, and then there's some other bug fixes. Okay, so that's that. So now let's go over into the builder and start testing out some of these features and see what we have. Okay, so here I've updated the version now. It's currently now version 1.3.6 beta, and the pro version is now 1.3.6. When I first installed it, I don't know why I didn't get any update for the pro version, so I had to go into my account settings and download the latest version. Probably it's due to that whole 24-hour thing that WordPress does with their plugins, but I'm not sure why. But the free version showed me the updates immediately. However, the pro version, it didn't show me any updates. I had to go myself and download the updates manually. So that's just me. So let me know in the comments, did you have that same experience where you had to go ahead and like download the pro version manually, or did it just show up in your dashboard? Let me know in the comments. All right, so yeah, let's go ahead and now start testing it out. So now that we have those two plugins installed, and I'm already working on the next updates for the Daveden Builder enhancement, which is now 2.1.0. So whatever fix I see, I'll document it down and fix the version of the builder enhancements, and then we'll get an update hopefully in as quick as I can get it. So hopefully maybe like by next week we should get an update. But for now, I would advise you not to either deactivate the DBE plugin or not update your Builderius plugin for now, because they're not really that compatible. Some things will break, not break in the sense that it will stop working, but break in the sense that it will look awkward in the preview area, the builder preview, because some things that I had put before, it will conflict with what Builderius have added, so there will be some conflicts. So now let's go into a page and then test it out. So under pages, I'll go into maybe this demo page. What do we have there? Okay, so we just have the basic things. So the first thing, let's now go in order. The first thing we will now test out is the new rename feature. So now they've added a way to do inline renaming by just double clicking on any of the elements in the navigator. So if I go to any element in the navigator now and I just double click, let's see, let me look at this section, double click, it tells me section. I can now rename it to be not section. Let's see what that does. Okay, so it now changes the name to not section. Okay, so I guess they still don't want to do my style. They don't really want that way that I like to work. They still keep the icons, so it's still icon and element. So let's see if there's a class name, what happens. So this is main currently. Let's say not main. Oh yeah, so so they didn't really, nothing changed basically. From what I can see, nothing really changed. The only thing that has changed right now is that they just made the element name to have angled brackets. That's all they did. Am I getting something wrong? Because it doesn't show the HTML tag. It only shows the HTML tag when there is no label, but they still keep the icon, then the label, and then the class name. So this is still going to like clutter, and you still get. So now I don't really know what element this is again. How do I know that this is a main tag? The only way I can know this is a main tag is if I click on that element Then I see the HTML tag there. I was hoping that they would have basically gotten rid of all of these icon thingies, because it's not like we can all can figure out what element it is from the icon. There's no way I would have known that this is, maybe this, I guess this is, we can guess that this is a, maybe like a page region icon. Then this is probably a section icon, a div icon, then the heading and paragraph icon, and then the link icon. Okay, I guess you can figure things out from the icons, but I was hoping that they will have made the HTML tag to be, you know, persistent, so I can always see the HTML tag and then the label, because I don't really need to know what the class name is. But if that's just me, I shouldn't complain. Let me know in the comments, what do you think? Do you think this new method of how they've made the preview, is it better? Is it worse? I don't know. But yeah, so you can rename an element, but the renaming, so okay, I guess it's like an incremental change. So all they just did was add an ability to rename, but they didn't really change the core functionality. The only thing they did was that whenever the name is, so for example, let me delete this whole name, enter, but then it now returns back to the HTML tag and the class name. So whenever there's no name, it shows the HTML tag. Whenever there's a name, it doesn't show the HTML tag. It replaces the HTML tag with the label. Okay. Okay. Then what else did they add? Let me see. It's not too bad. So that's one. The next thing that they added was, they've added, let's see, let me make sure that I'm not missing anything out. We'll test out this history undo redo after we've added a lot of features. Then we can now test out this whole history undo redo thing, because without making changes, you can't really see a history. So that's why we'll take this last, as well as the commits. Then what else? There is the, okay, persistent tabs. Let's go ahead and see the persistent tabs. So right now, this is the same site. Yeah, this same site. So now we have the demo open. We have, when did I open that? Can't even remember. Okay, so we have the demo open. We have contact open. Then let me go ahead and open another one. Let's say external API. Okay, so now you can see if I just click, it automatically it's almost like a proper tab. So you just click and it opens. There's no like spinner that shows, or any like that blurring effect when like Ajax opening the item. Now you just immediate, you just click, open, click, open. So yeah, this is actually very nice. I like this, that they've made it faster. You just click, can quickly switch between any of your tabs. Only the first time you're opening it, it will take a few seconds. For example, let me open dynamic data. It will take a few seconds to spin, but the moment it's open, it's now persistent. It has now been saved somewhere, I don't know. So now we can just click and open, and everything just works. So that's nice. Okay, then the other thing they said they added was that preview system. So now we can increase and reduce the sidebars. So let me open the inserter first. Okay, so we have this. This is to, okay, now I guess that works now. Or does it? Oh, what's happening? Let me open some. Why is it stuck? Let me no, let me open the element settings first. Okay, so this is the element settings. Let me now try this. That doesn't still do what I think it should do. Let me switch my mouse. Maybe it's my mouse. Let me switch to a different mouse. Okay, so this sidebar doesn't still expand and reduce from what I can see. You can't really expand. Oh, am I not on the I'm on the right version. Let me refresh the page. Hard refresh. Okay, so even when you hard refresh, the tabs remain persistent. So that's another cool thing. But I think this icon doesn't work. It is not reducing or expanding the sidebar. So that icon is broken. But let me see. There should be another one. Okay, yeah, this is the second one. Ah, okay. So this one allows you to increase and reduce the preview area, and it's quite buttery smooth. It doesn't show any broken uh thing. It just smoothly moves, and you can see from the top bar that we have this preview text, and then we have the percentage. So that is basically the preview width in pixels and the preview scale in percentage. But yeah, you can now drag and drop, drag and release the. Okay, yeah, I think they have an icon here. Does it? No, no, it doesn't. Okay, but basically you can now you can even expand it outward to way past the what you have in the preview area, so you can make it wider or smaller. Okay, that's nice. Uh, okay. Oh, sorry, I can't show it on screen, but yeah, Andrew. I say Andrew. Yeah, this is Crushing Labs, right? Let me pop out my chart so I can see it somewhere. Okay, it says, does the new release play nice with your extension pack? At the moment, no. There is still it's I need to make some compatibility. Some things will not look nice. For example, because of the persistent CSS tab, I think that will now play nicely with my own CSS tab system because I did some manipulation. So I will have to refactor some of the styles. Like for example, even the context menu, they've added some items to the context menu. So probably mine will now do it might do a double. It might show the items multiple times, so I have to clean up my own context menu and then basically hand over anything that is handled by Builderius, hand it over to Builderius. Anything that Builderius doesn't handle, then I will take that over. So that's just the difference, because I think they will have implemented things in their own way, not using my way. So some things will be different. But yeah, okay. So the first thing that I noticed is like I've pointed out, is that I'm not still a fan of their whole preview of elements. I'm not sure. I don't know why. I don't really like this whole. In fact, I don't see the point of the icons. I think the icons are nice. Some people like to see icons because, like, one of my my leaders of a meetup, she prefers visual rather than just text only. But I don't know why. I don't. I just think that the icon is just taking up space. Then the HTML tag doesn't persist. So what is persisting is the CSS class names. Which, if you have multiple class names, it becomes pointless because you can't really read the class names. You just know that the class names exist, but you can't actually read the full class name list. But from what I can see, they need to still fix this preview sidebar. Okay, now it's working. Now it stopped working again. Yeah, the sidebar needs to be fixed. The drag handles for the sidebars needs some fix or some bug fix. But I think the other things work nicely. But the preview area drag handle, that one works well. Just the one for the preview area works very well. Okay. Then what else? Let's see. They should have checked. It says they should have checked with me first. Solving the UI challenges left and right. Your improvements almost want to make me. Uh, oh yeah, okay, that's nice. Yeah. So to be fair, they did already hint that these changes will be made beforehand, so I was already aware that the changes we made. So that's why I'm already working on a fix. Once I figure this out, I can now know what to change, and then in a few days I should come up with the bug fix that will fix the parts of my own plugin that needs to be deprecated in favor of Builderius. But the good thing is that my plugin is quite modular, so if there's any thing that doesn't work, all you have to just do is go ahead and deactivate that feature, and it will not interfere with the Builderius feature. So if the preview drag handles are interfering, just deactivate that feature and it goes away. Like the CSS code mode that I have added, I think that can now be deprecated because the Builderius CSS code mode should be better. But yeah, okay. So the first nice thing that I noticed is this whole switch is so instantaneous. That is really nice. I wonder how they did it, but basically it's quite quick, and it even remembers the state that your builder preview was in. So let's see, my preview was in this state. I switch my tab and I go back. Oh no, it didn't. Why does this one show 1008 pixels? The other one shows, this one shows, oh yeah, there's something is broken then. Because this one remembered the state that it was in the mobile version mode, but it returned my preview area to 1008 pixels. So it is like in between. It remembered the state where I was doing my CSS or whatever, that it was in the mobile mode, but then it did not recalculate the preview area. So if you see, this one is on the globe, that's on all. If I go to external API, that goes back to the mobile version. So that needs to be checked. If I go back there, then I think everything should work. It's just that the preview always resets back to the beginning, but then the breakpoint changes. So it's some discrepancy there. Okay. Yeah, so I'm seeing you adjust the width in the viewport and looking for the dynamically updated value, which can be auto used in media and container queries. Yeah, that's the whole point of that whole preview. So you can reduce the preview, you can see the pixel value there, and you can use it in your container query or your media query or things like that. The only thing that I see that is buggy, that the moment you switch the tab, it stays on that mobile breakpoint in the CSS, but it's okay. Now it's just confusing. Now this didn't change again, so now I think that they need to actually do a bit more testing with the whole system, because the preview buttons at the top are not really following in line with what tab you are on. So that just needs, I think they just need to do a bit of a tweaking for the whole thing, and they need to fix this sidebar that we cannot really increase or reduce. The sidebar width is just fixed, but there's a drag handle for the sidebar width, but it's actually doing nothing. It's not allowing you to actually drag or increase or reduce the sidebar, but it's there. So they need to fix that sidebar drag handle. But what I did was I had to like deactivate that handle and then put in my own handles for it to work when in my own plugin. But yeah, they need to fix it. Okay, so now that aside, what's the next feature that they've added? So they've added, we'll check out this WordPress admin bar feature later. The other thing that they've added is that auto-BEM. So that's what I would like to check now, the auto-BEM. So let me go ahead and is this the demo site? Yeah, this is the demo page. Let's go ahead and delete this whole list of elements. How do I remove them? Okay, remove. So let's say I'm on a section, I add, or on the main tag, I add a section. Within that section, let's say I add a heading and maybe a paragraph. And what else? Maybe an image. What else do you normally put? Or maybe a block quote or something. So let's say we have this set of elements now, and I want to give them an auto-BEM class. So let's see how it works. So they've improved the context menu. Right click. We get the context menu open. Then we go into auto-BEM. And it opens this auto-BEM feature on the sidebar. I would have loved it to be in the center, but I guess it doesn't really matter. It's on the side. Ideally, it would be nice if the auto-BEM is at the center, then I can just, view the center tab and work on it. But now I can, give the block name. Let me first rename it there to something like hero. And let's say I give this as inner. I give this as the title. The paragraph, I name it the description. The image. Yeah, this is something I really wish that the Builderius team will work on. This, like, the highlight color is very bad. It's like a light gray color on the white text. That's very hard to see that you highlighted something. Yeah, my face is not blocking it up. But basically, it's very hard to see that you've highlighted the text. They need to fix this highlight color everywhere. But yeah, let's say this is just the media image or something. I don't know. Let's just give it that name. Okay, so now we have our hero section. How do we auto-BEM? Just right click, auto-BEM, and yeah, so it gets the name hero on double underscore inner, title, description, and media image. So it just picks the title. So it's basically working similar to how mine works. Basically, it's the same ideology with the check marks as well, that you can easily activate or deactivate any part. And I can rename this to, let's say if it's not hero, but hero 24. It will automatically change them, and you can change each one individually. So instead of hero 24 inner, I can say this is not inner. And let's see. I'll go ahead and add the 5 classes. Okay, so this is definitely faster than mine. Mine was a bit slower because mine had to go and do it iteratively, adding the class names. But this one just automatically added the class names. So it's definitely better than my own auto-BEM. So I would suggest you deactivate my auto-BEM feature in the plugin for now. We'll see how it goes later. But yeah, you can see the classes are added. Hero 24. Then other selectors are available as well. So that's pretty cool. Yeah. I'm looking. I just reading the comments. Well, I shouldn't say much about the features that they added. I think they are doing a good job, to be fair. So they've added these features like the hero. So now you can do auto-BEM. The auto-BEM has been added. What else did they add? They've also added this feature to wrap in. So let's see how that works. Let me put in this header title. So for the header title, I can just right click. Oh, sorry, my face has been in the way. So let's go. Okay. So now we have this where is it? Wrap in. So wrap in. Okay, then it opens. I don't know. Everything just keeps opening in the sidebar. Well, I guess that works. But then now it is blocking my, my elements. That's why ideally I think this should either open as a side, like a drop-down panel, or open in the center, so that it doesn't just block the items that I'm actually working with. Because right now if I right click, wrap in, it now blocks this whole section. But yeah, let's see. Wrap in a div. Okay, to now wrap that element in a div. Okay. Let me see. Does it allow me to do the unwrap feature? No, doesn't exist yet. So let's say I want to now wrap in a template. Okay, so that wraps in a template. If I want to wrap it in a collection, okay, so it's a collection, but then just with the div tag. Okay, you should probably have had the collection as a name or something. I don't know. Okay, yeah, it works. So yeah, but yeah, this is actually quite nice. So you now have the wrap in feature. You can wrap in a div, in a template, or in a collection element. I guess they didn't want to put the wrap in figure that I added as well. Maybe they've figured out that that's not necessary. But yeah, so we have the wrap in feature. What other feature do we have? Expand children. So let's see if I collapse these children, which is the hero section. I right click and I say expand children. So to just iteratively expand just that item. And then why did it highlight the div? Interesting. That's an interesting thing. Let me close that again. Right click, expand children. Okay, so because my div was highlighted before I closed the elements, so that means the focus is still on that div even though the items are closed. Okay, interesting. Okay. Oh yeah, because then you can start styling the sidebar. That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, I think the wrap they should I think I'm seeing the comment that says the wrap model UI feels hastily put together. Yeah, I think they should have done it something similar to what is this name? I know there was one before a long time ago for bricks. Struct Easy. Yeah, Struct Easy. He had that whole what's it called? The whole model that had all those how you can add sections and add items quickly into the bar. I think they should have probably followed that same system. I don't know. Okay. Team. Hi, team. Thank you for joining in. Yeah, you made it. I'm not very impressed with the implementation of many of the UI improvements by Builderius. Yours mostly worked better. Yeah, I think. I don't know. I think. I think. I think their vision is. I don't know how to put it. The vision is just slightly different from what I had envisioned for some items, but the features work well, I think. But just the UI just didn't feel like how I had envisioned it in my head of how they will have sorted it out. But yeah, I think this is just the first iteration. They will fix everything. Anything that we figure out or find out, they will fix them. But yeah, let's see what else did they add. They added what else? The other feature they've added are so we've seen those nice features that they added, like the rename. We have the context menu has been improved. Okay, yeah, reorder favorited elements. Let's go ahead and test that. So I'll go into my settings. And now, okay, yeah, there's a drag handle. So you can either drag them up. So let's see. Let me drag the collection up. Okay, and the collection is up there. If I drag it back down. Okay. Okay, yeah, so they've just... Previously, I had put that icon for the drag handles. So you have to click on that icon first before you can drag items. But now, when you click on the settings icon, it will now allow you to drag as well as delete items. So yeah, that works. So that's sorted out. Okay. Now we'll check out the main highlight now, which is on the side panels before we check out the history and the revisions. So on the side panels, this is something I was actually working on for a future update, but Builderius has already sorted it out, so I may not even bother with that feature anymore. Because I once mentioned in the comments or in a post on my Facebook a long time ago about this whole ideology of styles, that how do you know where the style is coming from for an element? The style, sometimes, sometimes you might be styling an element on the h the element tag itself, so like the h1 tag or the section tag. You might be styling that tag, or you might be styling a class, or you might be styling a nested element. For example, you can say um, any selector like hero space h1, or you could be styling. So there are so many things that you could have been styling that might affect the element, but how do you then get to know which style is affecting the element? So I already showed a kind of a preview of what I was working on for something way ahead in the future to my meetup group, and we came up with an implementation, but I think I will just not bother with that anymore, since Builderius have come up with a different implementation of these UI. So you can now just click on it. What just happened? Oops, we have a problem here. Why? I refresh. What just happened there? Oh, okay. Sorry, let me switch my screen. I was testing out one of their features. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, like Crushing Labs. Yeah, with Croco Builder, I can get what the where they're coming from with Croco Builder. I just wish they would have gone with the route of the edge of Builderius route, but they explained in the when I spoke to them, they explained why they took the decisions that they took. So that. Then Tim says, hopefully they will improve it. I guess they were more interested in the undo, which is great the way it works, but I think the UI improvements are rather hastily added. Yeah, so maybe if we spend more time with the UI. I've not tested it. This is my first look, so even I am just seeing it for the first time. So I think they were working more on the history redo undo feature, because that one was a very big feature, and they just added this as a first iteration of their fixes. Then later they will now fix whatever else needs to be fixed. I think the two things that they worked on mostly are the CSS code mode and the history undo redo. The other features, they just like put them in to work, and then they're working. Okay, so yeah, what was I trying to check? I just realized there was a bug somewhere, so that's why I have to check it again. There was an element I was trying to see. Yeah, let's see. The moment I try to click on this before after element, it just takes me to a broken screen. It says, oops, we have a problem. So something is, I'm not sure why that's not allowing me to. What could be the problem? Oh no. Let me try the others. So what of this? The star selector, that works. Local works, but just this selector, I think, was it a selector I added myself? Most likely. Let's see, global styles, CSS code mode, all CSS. Yes, this is my own CSS. That's why I'm not using their Builderius CSS, which is probably why it broke. So yeah, that's something I need to I have to write it down somewhere, that when I use this comma, let me see if there's any other one that has a comma separated CSS so that we can figure out. So let me try something else, like, no, but the H1, H2, H3 style worked. This one, oh no, so I guess anything that has a comma it breaks. So it doesn't like commas. That's what I'm just noticing now, that the moment there's a comma within the CSS classes, it breaks. So that's something they need to fix. Let me quickly write it down so that I don't forget. Where is my okay, so that's the two things that I've noted now are, so let me say Builderius. I'm just going to write it down in, what do you guys normally use to write your notes? I've started using this Bear app. That's where I tend to jot down anything that I think about. Let's see, why is it not full screen? Builderius 1.3.6 beta 1, the sidebar drag handles don't work. 2, the second one was, there was something else that I didn't like. Can't remember now. Let me just skip that. The third one is that the complex selectors with commas break when you try to style them. So anything that has a comma, like for example this before comma, the moment I click on that, it tells me, oops, we have a problem. So that needs to be fixed. What else? Yeah. Crashing Labs, no, I think we can't purchase Builderius for now. I think it will be open again very soon. Once I think they said it's going to be like in a week or 2 weeks. They will open once the release candidate 1 comes in, then we'll have the ability to purchase again, if I remember correctly. But then yeah, but what I really like, I should mention things that I like to fix. Let me write this well. No. Okay, so one is the tabs, the persistent tabs. I really like the persistent tabs. It's quite nice, and even when you reload the page, it stays there. Then what else? The preview drag handles is quite nice, because I think mine sometimes there was some not very buttery smooth drag handles. When it gets to the edge, something jumps. You see the number jumps when mine gets to the edge, but I think they're able to fix it because you can go past the edge. The reason why there's usually a bit of a jump. If you notice that once it gets to this desktop breakpoint, there's usually, I think it will just jump basically before it now goes back to normal. The moment it's jumping between the desktop breakpoint and the all breakpoint, there usually tends to be a jump somewhere. But that's normal. That was what I was trying to fix at one point. But yeah, we can ignore that safely. Yeah. Okay, yeah, so I didn't make a mistake. So yes, the shop reopens when the release candidate 1 release is out, which is soon, but no definite dates yet. Okay. So yeah, I think those are the main features. So now let's test out this whole CSS code mode. So the CSS code mode that previously, when you go to the style, to get access to the code in previous versions, you'd have had to go, just to get to this code mode, you'd have had to come to the, what's it called? The element, then you click on a class name, you click on style, then a class name, before you now see the CSS icon popping up somewhere at the top where this expand collapse icon is. That's the only way you cannot get the CSS. But now they moved it up to the top, so now you have access to the CSS code mode at all times. So when you now click on it, you get the code editor that pops up. By default, it will be accessing the local mode unless you click on an element or a class or whatever. Then it will show you the CSS class that you are styling. What else? And then you get a dot. That means this element is styled on the global level, but no style on the template level. So, and then whatever element you're on, it will persist. So it will not disappear. It will just persist there. So yeah. Yes. Tim. Yes, it doesn't work with this version of Builderius. I'm already working on the next release. That should come out in a few days, like a couple of days. Once just a compatibility update with one new feature, basically. But yeah, that's what I'm working on because I was already working on something else. So I'm just going to roll in this compatibility update with that one new feature. Then it should be released in a couple of days once I'm able to figure out all of the things that have changed currently. Because the way I set it up is it has that. It's supposed to. Maybe I didn't set it up well. It's supposed to always show you that error where there is a version higher than the current version until. Well, maybe I need to rework how it detects version numbers. But yeah, okay. So the only thing that I think I don't like about this whole thing now is that we are stuck with this code mode. So basically what I mean is, so now you can't minimize, you can't reduce this basically this is the size that you are going to be stuck with no matter where you are on. You are stuck with I forgot. Once you open the code mode or the CSS code, it opens this very wide sidebar. So you are stuck with this wide sidebar throughout your styling. When you're styling any element, the only time you get better is when you now go to like the content tab, then it becomes smaller. But the moment you're in the style tab, you are now stuck with this massive style editor. Even though for the most part, for any CSS, let me open any CSS, like any element CSS, you will notice that any element CSS, it never really, apart from maybe a clamp function, your CSS never actually passes this sidebar. Like if you go down the bottom, like they barely ever get past the sidebar. So we don't really need this extra wide CSS bar. Or I think that's just me. So we'll see what happens. I don't know. They need to figure out. They should fix this drag handles for the sidebar. So what they should even do is, I know my own plugin does, the two sidebars are connected, but what they should now do is come up with a good way for the sidebar to work, that you can drag the sidebar. Having this fixed sidebar is not really that nice, I don't know, for me. But it's very nice that what they've done now. They've just done what I was hoping that they would do for a long time, which is that you can quickly switch between your global and template level CSS directly from the style panel. That's actually very nice. You don't have to go to selectors, then click on templates or global, then go back to elements, click on the element you want before you now click on the class name that you're trying to style, and then style that element. Now it's smooth directly from the style panel. Let me just deactivate this code mode. Directly from the style panel, you just quickly switch to template. You get your template styles. Global, you get your global styles, and you can start working. So that's something really nice that I like. So that's a very nice feature. And then they've also made it such that when an element is styled on the global level, it will show in white, I think. If it's styled, so once it is styled on that, what's it called? I can't remember how I put it. On that scope, yes, on that scope. Once it's styled on the scope, like for example on the global scope, If the element is styled on the global scope, it will show you in white. If the class is styled on the template scope, let me give I'm mixing things up. So let's give some classes so that people can see it visually. So let's say this section, I give it the class name of test123. Then I go ahead and give it a style on this test123. So like I say this is for the section background color. What's happening? I can't close it up. Oh. Ah, okay. I think they've I'm just noticing something. It looks like they've made one change that you have one tab open at a time, one accordion open at a time. So for example, once I have layout open, it will close out the flex child, but I can't have all closed at the same time. Or do I have? Oh, okay. Unless I click on this collapse all button. But if the layout is open, I can't close it. If I click on the layout, I'm clicking on the layout right now. I can't close it unless I click on this collapse all button or expand all. But then it can only open one at a time. So once the grid child is open and I switch to sizing, it will open the sizing tab but close the grid child. So only one accordion open at a time. I don't know how I feel about the whole thing, but yeah, that makes it, I think it makes it neater because only one tab is open at a time. So you don't have that clutter of too many things open on your tab. But yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. But anyway, yeah, let me switch back to my other mouse. I think that is a bit slower, so I won't jump around too much. Okay. So on the background color, let's say I put the background color of purple. So now you see there's a dot on this purple. So that shows that, okay, this item is styled on the global level. If I now deactivate it, let's see, close. Okay. Then I switch to the template level. Okay, and I add let's say I add a new class called test234, and I style this test234 on the template level. So I say something like, what else can I use here that will show up? Border, let's say border, or maybe, yeah, but let's say text. I think the text color should change. Typography, text color should be hot pink. Okay, oh no, white. Okay, you see that if you style something on that scope, and let's say I close it, so because I'm styling on that scope, it will show me that item in this white background or grayish background. But anything that's not styled on that scope is going to be in black to show that it's like kind of disabled, sort of. So anything that you style on this scope that you're working on, so like if you're on the template scope and you add a class and you style that class on the template scope, it will show you in light color. So now the one thing I would like to test out is, if I go to global now, you see that the test234 shows black because it was styled on the template scope, not the global scope. One thing I now want to test is, what if I now add two things I would want to test. First, does it do a dirty state? So if I go to the code mode now and I select the test234, it still does that dirty state. Oh, no, okay, no, it doesn't. It switched immediately to the template mode automatically because that class was styled on the template mode. It switched to that mode and then it opened the selector for you to style. So that's actually an interesting way. What if I go back to the global and okay, that, yeah, they figured out a way to solve the problem, because previously we were having that issue where you add a style on the template level. So let's say, for example, you had this class which was styled on the template level, and I'm on the global level right now, and I go ahead and I open the CSS code mode. Previously, it will have opened the global mode but show you the style from the template mode. But now, I think it still remains on the global mode or on the mode. I'm getting confused a bit. Let's see. Globe to global. I select the class CSS. Okay, so that, yeah, so now what I've just figured out now is the CSS code mode at the top is kind of persistent. So what happened was I was on the global mode, but because the CSS code mode, when I left the CSS code mode, I was on the template mode, it automatically still switched me back to the template mode. Let me make sure that I'm getting it right. So, for example, in this CSS code mode right now, I'll click on the global. Then I will deactivate the code mode. I will click on a class. For example, this class test234 class, which ideally is styled on the template level. As you can see, the dots on the template level. But now let me go into, in fact, let me even click on the template level. Template. It is styled on the template level. Now let me go into the CSS code mode. Oh, then it's now on it. I'm confused. I'm confused how this thing works. So, okay. I click template level. I go out. I deactivate it, the class. I click on test234 or whatever. I click on the global class. So now I'm global mode. I click on the CSS code mode. It stays on. Okay, so I don't know what happened the other time. Previously, it was just jumping to the template mode, even though I was on the global. But I think it was just me making a mistake. But yeah, so now it doesn't dirty the state anymore. You don't get that spill of template level styles in the global style. So they have fixed that completely, which means that I can now safely deactivate my CSS, what's it called? The CSS code style, something that I had before. I can deactivate that now. So on the global level, let me now add a class or a style here and see what happens. So I click on selector and I say maybe let's see, border 8 pixel solid red. Okay. So okay, so it will now show you that you actually style the element both on the global and the template level. That's why you see this dot sign on both the global level and the template level. So that they have fixed it very well. This is way better than what my own plugin had before. So if I deactivate the class, everything goes away. Then I click on the test234. Okay, I am in the test mode 234, and it shows me that I am in the global style, but the style can work both. There's a style in the global level as well as in the template level, and they all work. So yeah, that works. Oh, okay. Thank you so much, Crushing Labs, for joining in. Hopefully, they will become your #1 builder once they come up with a nice, the best UI possible. Yeah. And yeah, team, yeah, to be fair, Builderius is my #1 builder at the moment in terms of WordPress page builders, because I also use Astro on the side. That's what I used to build my own websites. I used Astro. But yeah, in terms of WordPress, Builderius is my #1 builder, then Bricks, then others. Yeah. So, and yeah, what you said is right, that the UI just feels like, I think the Builderius needs, I think they need to, I don't know how to say it. I think they need to not just them, the three of them. They need to have like a brainstorm session, a brainstorming session basically, where they sit down with a couple of designers and then they brainstorm and say, okay, here is what we are coming up with. What do you all think? Then each person will come up with their own idea, because I think this whole idea of just one or two people making the decision for the entire plugin's UI like flow is good and it's limiting at the same time, because then you only know what you know. So something might work well for you based on your own stress test, but not based on every other person's stress test. So something might be like, for example, I'm working with the WordPress Accessibility Day committee, and sometimes we've had this, the way we've set it up is such that before anything is released, one person writes, even with a comment or whatever, a post or whatever. I break the rules sometimes, but basically how they work is one person, let's say it's an email, one person writes the email, but that person doesn't send the email. It has to go through a QA process with somebody else, or like the team. So they'll say, okay, here is what I've written, send it to the team, which comprises of multiple people for that specific task. For example, speakers, anything that to relate with the speakers that are, they have a speakers committee or a speaker that is all volunteers though. So anything that wants to go out before the team lead does any decision, the team lead will pass it on to the members and say, here's what I've written up, what do you all think? Then everybody will now come up with their brainstorming idea and say, okay, this text feels too complicated, that feels too complex, and so on. So it reduces that whole, like, I don't know how to put it, burden on one person. It now makes the ideas to be a bit more ideas to flow, not just one person doing everything. But yeah, that's just me. Yeah. Exactly what yeah, Tim is saying, that yeah, they need fresh eyes, because as a developer, you get this tunnel vision of how a developer looks at something. You don't really realize, okay, how the users interact with that same thing. So some things that might be very beautiful to you because you know the workaround to that thing. Like for example, like how even I had that issue right when I was building this plugin, where I was so interested in code mode only. But then after I built the plugin, I started getting a lot of comments about people saying that they actually still like the UI. They just want improvements to the CSS UI rather than just completely removing the CSS UI. So you see, even I had just one vision of this is what I want, rather than this is what everybody needs. So if there are more people looking at a feature, then you can come up with some nuance, some like edge cases, and fix those edge cases before it is released to the public. But yeah, so let's keep going. But yeah, I really like this whole feature, but I see that this is the only buggy thing, that anything that has a comma separation breaks, so they need to fix that. But yeah, I really like this whole code mode that they've set up. The only thing I wish is that they give us drag handles for the side panels. It should always stay collapsed, not jumping up and down, jumping up and down. That's something that is not very nice. They should make them fixed sizes and then allow the users to be able to resize it themselves. They shouldn't force the user into a specific size. Because from what I can see now, I think even the CSS variables is still that way. Yeah, it's still basically this way, whereby you can't really reduce the CSS variables sidebar. It's just fixed with. We need more flexibility. But yeah, let me go ahead and how do I deactivate this now? Okay, just go out of it. Okay. So yeah, that's that. What else do we need? Okay, so now that we have done all of these, let's now see this whole. Let me go ahead and save it first. So now let's see this whole undo redo and how it works. So let's say I mistakenly delete this whole section. go ahead and delete the section. And I'm like, oh wow, I should have actually gotten the section back. So now I can just press Ctrl Z or Command Z or Command Z if you're in the UK, and everything comes back quickly. If I do the redo, it goes away. Undo, comes back. Everything comes back quickly. So that really is nice. It's nice that that really works. So I'm so happy with that. Okay, yeah. So I just saw a comment, so I need to write that down. It says that the auto-BEM needs to be improved. It is too narrow and cuts off the styles and covers the structure panel when you may need to see it. Exactly what I said about not just the auto-BEM, even the wrap-in feature. It's like it's anchored to the left hand side, or like I'm guessing they used absolute positioning or something. Let me go ahead and see it. Right click, inspect. Let's see. Display flex center. No, that's not it. So it is just I'm guessing they use some form of calculation, because they always do that thing whereby they do some absolute positioning system. So you see, it uses JavaScript, I think, to determine where the left sidebar is, and then it just positions it to that top right, top left, and then the width. So that's why it's using JavaScript to determine where where it should be. They should just make it in the center. That is like the easiest place for any of these anchor elements to be. Then even the auto-BEM feature, like you said, yeah, because it's tethered to the left, it can easily cut off if something is too long, or if we are zoomed in. I think if you are zoomed in, that's the end. You can't see your classes anymore. So yeah, this absolute positioning system, they should make it like a proper dialogue. Put it in the center, and it should just be like a proper. It should use the dialogue, whole model dialogue, CSS and pattern basically, so that things don't break like this, where you zoom in and then everything is missing. If I zoom out, then see the positioning changes because it's using JavaScript to detect where the position. If I now right click again and let's see. If I right click now again and do wrap in, see, because they detect the side based on that current position. The moment you now zoom in or zoom out, everything falls apart. So yeah, that's the thing. So yeah, what Tim says is actually right. And so yeah, I need to write that down. The auto-BEM and all of their dialogue should be using the dialogue pattern, and yeah, so their the wrap in the wrap in and the auto-BEM should be using the dialogue model pattern and centered, not using JavaScript to figure out where the sidebar is. Okay. All right. So then so we have tested out the undo redo. That works perfectly. It's way better than what my own function was before. They've made it native and a lot better. So the only thing that is just the other UI related items that they need to actually like polish a bit more. Then let's test out this history and commits. So we now have version tracking, history, and commits. So everything we've been doing so far, it's in the history. So you can see I updated my styles, updated CSS classes on the section at the date and time. Everything you've been doing throughout, it shows up. And then the commits is, I think anytime you do a save, it creates a commit, I think, if I'm not mistaken. Save. Yeah, so anytime you do a save, it creates a commit. And then anytime you do anything, so basically think of it like GitHub, like I mentioned about GitHub before. It's just like GitHub. When you are doing any edits, all of your edits just keep piling up within your element. The moment you are now ready to stage that your edits, you now create a new commit. So the moment you create a new commit, that's now like a snapshot of everything you've edited so far becomes that commit. So that's what is happening with the Builderius history and commits. The history is basically all that you have done so far at that point. But then the commit is when you now save, it creates a new commit. So you can go back to a previous save point. And then finally, you now have releases, which is like a bundle of commits creates a release. And so that release, you can now jump to a major release. Jump is like the bug, like when you're doing your codes, your plugins, you have maybe version 1.3.6. The 0.6 is like the bug fix. The 0.3 is like the minor release, and the number one is the major release. So it's that same pattern whereby you have the release is like the major save point, then the commit is like the minor saves that you do during your edits, and then the history is all of the different things that you do on this. When you add like for example, we can, while this is open, let's go ahead and add something to, let's say, the anchor. I go ahead and say this is not an inline link. The moment you finish that, you'd see that it says we updated content on the anchor. So it's saving all of, anytime you do, oh, sorry. Oh, my bad. I need to switch my screen. I should always remember to switch my screen. So basically, the history is that when you have histories, whatever you are doing before you save is always piling up in the history. So for example, if I go to this anchor, or no, let me do something else, like this paragraph, and I start typing in the paragraph. So I delete in the paragraph, watch what happens in the history, delete. It says update content on paragraph. If I add something else now, like this is a new commit, it shows you another new thing, update content on paragraph. So this is, with this history now, is what our undo and redo are now working with. So the moment you click back, it goes to the previous thing, and so on. Then forward goes to the next, and so on. And it's not only for the HTML tags, even when you drag and drop any element. So for example, I move this paragraph up, it creates a new history. If I go into the dynamic data and I create a new variable like test2, it creates a new history item, and I can now say maybe this is like test expression result. This is a test get data. It will basically now make that a new history. Then the moment I now press save, all of these historical things I've done becomes a new commit. And then you can now jump between commits. So you can now say, okay, let's go back to the previous save point. So this was the save point I did 4 minutes ago. Click on that. And that was when I had done a heading, I've done a paragraph, and I had not put in any anchor link. If I go back to the new one, where are the anchor links? Oh, they're not there. But basically, another thing you can do is, I can now say, let's see. Okay, what happens is, you see, in the previous one, the heading was, or in this current one, the paragraph is above the heading. I can go back. You see now the heading is above the paragraph. Go back again. Other things are there. So you can also do something like this. For example, I can now come back to this previous commit, and I can copy this. Let me see. Yes, I can copy this lorem ipsum that was in the previous commit, copy that. Then come to the new commit. So let's say I did something something long ago in the previous commit. I did something like I added a class or a content or an element, and I deleted the element, and I've saved and I've forgotten about that element. And I now think about it like, oh wait, I really needed that element that I did before. What happens to that element? You can just go back to your commit, look for the correct commit, go into the preview of the commit that was there, copy that element, or copy the content of that element. No, yeah, you can only copy. Wait. Oh yeah, you can only copy the element. Sorry, you can only copy the element, not the content of the element. Once you copy the element, you can now come back into your current thing that you're working on, and you paste your element there. So I can right click and paste. Or where is it? What is that? How is paste? I believe. Where is the paste? Oh, it didn't work. You are only okay. Sorry, I'm still in the preview. I didn't see the error there. Close that. Now I'm out of the preview mode. I can now right click and paste, and I get back my lorem ipsum paragraph content. And this is like the highlight feature. This is, I think I've not seen any page builder. I can say this is like the only page builder that has this feature right now that I know of, whereby you have like 3 save, like you can jump to a previous commit, because I know with other page builders you have something similar like with Elementor and all of that. But those ones, all you can do is you can jump into that previous version, and that's it. You are now in that previous version. You continue working for that previous version. But this one, they allow you to jump into any of the previous versions, copy elements from that previous version, come back into your new version, and paste just that one element or those set of elements that you need from the previous version. I've not seen any page builder that does that. If you have, please let me know in the comments. Maybe I haven't been paying attention. But yeah, their history is the best. Just like Tim says, it is definitely very good. Yeah, rather than white and so yeah, it's very good. And like Tim is saying, the undo redo is very good. So yeah, the only thing that like I know Builderius team, they don't really like colors. If you notice that in the builder, they tend to be very minimal with the way they use colors, which is why even the highlight colors are very, you see, within the Monaco editor, you get this blue highlight color. But within any other thing, like within attribute, I think, let's say this is data, oh shit, data test is valueless. If I press right now, I press Ctrl A, which is highlighting the whole of that text, but you can barely see the highlight shadow, which is like a light gray on it. So within the Monaco editor, I wish they can just basically take this selection color from the Monaco editor and use it everywhere. That would just save us a lot of problems. They should just make their selection color to be light blue or something like that. And they should use variables rather than fixed values, so that we can always modify them ourselves in custom CSS. So that's something they should do. Use CSS variables rather than fixed values of pixels or color values or whatever. And they should make the highlight color to be something more visible, like this light blue or something. But yeah, so those are the features I think that they've had. Is there any other feature? Yeah, like I mentioned, there's persistent HTML tag. So this HTML tag remains persistent between the content tab and the styles tab. So there's that. Then I think one nice thing that they can do is is this like an anti-pattern? Not being able to close all the tabs, all the accordion icons is like an anti-pattern. It's making me get confused, basically. But what I would like them to add is a way to like search. There's a way to search through the accordions and just open the right accordion that you want. Let it be like a search icon. Maybe that's something I should work on. A search icon that you can click on that search icon somewhere at the top, and you can be able to search through your styles, so you can just get the exact style that you are working on. But yeah, maybe that's something for the future. But yeah, I think the exploration is quite nice so far. Only thing that they just need to fix this auto-BEM and wrap in so that it is more centered and a bit more polished in the UI. Because right now you see there's this big space. I'm not sure why that space is there. We have a div and then there's a massive space there. I'm not sure what that is for. Interesting. I'm not sure what that is. And the close icon is very tiny. They should add a bit more space around the close icon for us to be able to click the close, because the close icon is just one tiny X. That's the only thing that's the close. There's no padding around the X to allow us to have a better click area. Then what else? Then I think there was one thing that I noticed when I was here is that the drag handle is a bit confusing. I'm not you see, let's say I'm on this heading. I click on the heading, but what is being dragged is the section. I'm not sure. So the drag handles are a bit confusing right now. If I click, because watch this. Let me get my face off the screen. Right now, the container is highlighted. I am hovering over the paragraph, right? This is the paragraph area. But watch what happens when I click drag. It is the section that is being dragged. So it's not even following any pattern right now. That I don't know how the drag handle is calculated. So it's basically this drag handle here is going down the line, and it's not for my plugin because my plugin is deactivated. It's not active on this site. So it means there's something buggy here, that there's a weird drag handle, but you're not even sure what you're dragging. It drags all of the items together. So they need to fix that drag handle. Yeah. Yeah, the history. Okay. So the history is linear across all Builderius tabs. So yeah, okay, let me go to another tab. And then I go to the history. Where's the history? Okay, history. Okay, so the history continues across tabs. Okay, so let's say I do something on this tab as well, like extra data. Okay, so it tells me, okay, content on the title, updated content in the title. And if I switch back to the external API, let's say I switch to this one and then write book evaluation tomorrow. It also saves that. Okay. So now let's see if I do an undo here. What happens? Undo. Book evaluation, undo again. Oh, it will now take you to the tab that is open and does an undo on that tab that's open. That's actually a cool feature. So it's across the tabs. And let's see if I now save, what happens? Let's say I go to this, back to and I save. So I think the save is also across all, basically the commit is across all the tabs. So it works across tabs. Yeah. So is the drag handle meant to be for the right hand quick add panel to reorder them? No, I think what the drag handles that I'm showing is the drag handles is for these other elements. If you click on the settings icon, it opens up this ability to close the favorites, and as well as you now see these drag handles and you can drag them wherever you want. So that works. I tested it out, it works. You can drag your items around, but there's another drag handle on the elements inserter, but the drag handle, you are not really sure where exactly you're dragging. If I click on this content, so now because my drag hand is around this area, if I drag anywhere around this area, it's going to drag the section. If I come somewhere here, I think, let's see, see, it's dragging the section. If I come somewhere like this angle, it will drag the container. If I come, so basically the drag handle extends, even though we can't see it, it's extending down the line, but it's not visible. So it's not there, it's there, but not there at the same time. So it's creating problems. So they need to fix these drag handles, or at least put a line. Like in my own plugin, I added a line that shows you exactly where the line is. So that line is where the drag handle is actually affecting, from what I can see. But yeah. Okay, so Volodymyr says commit is like release in dev branch. Once you click save, in commit will be changes from all entities. Okay, yeah. In commit preview mode, you can check what entities. Okay, so in the preview mode, let's see the preview mode. How do we go to the preview mode? So commits. How do I go to the right click? More about this commit. Okay, then it tells you exactly what things changed. So items to review. It changed the global settings. It changed the demo page, dynamic data, and content page. Let me see if it actually also, does it also affect CSS? So for example, let's go to the demo page. This is where I can break things. And I go to, what else? Styles. And I give it a class name of something. Test. No. What's happening to mine? Oh yeah, I'm in preview mode. How do I exit the preview mode? Sorry. I keep forgetting I'm in the preview mode. And give it a class name of like test. So now that I'm in test, I go to, what else? I go to add like sizing, or no, typography. Yeah, this is very confusing. Like once you open the tab, you can't close it. That needs to be reworked. So typography, let's say the font size is 4rem. Okay, let me go ahead and press save. Am I save? Why is it not saving? What else is happening here? Save. Something went off. Did I make any mistake? No. Save. Am I still in the commit? No, I don't think I'm in the commit anymore. I thought I closed the commit. The preview. Let me refresh. Okay. Styles tab. I go to test. A new class called test. And I do a typography and font size of 4rem. Okay. Save. Okay, now it's saved. Okay. So let's see. Did it? Okay. So okay. So yeah, it also saves the things you do within your styles as well, your classes. So the commit is not just for dynamic data, for elements, for dragging and whatever. It also checks when you add things to your classes and to your styles and everything. So basically everything, literally everything. Everything is recorded and works. Yeah. Yeah, exactly, Tim. The history undo redo is like, I think I don't think any page builder has done it the way that they've done it, because you can literally go in to a commit. Basically, commits still are persistent. The history, once you load the page, which is written there, it says it clears after each page reload. So the moment you reload the page, the history goes away. The commits are like persistent, similar to GitHub. The moment you write a commit, it saves, and your commit has the commit name, a person who did the commit, so the user who did the commit, the time it was committed, and then you can click on the three dots. You can edit the title and say maybe this commit was changing the colors, similar to like your regular commit in GitHub, where you can write a message. You know, you do commit -m and then you give the message of the commit. So basically, this is just what you're doing. You're giving the commit a name. So maybe like changed the color. So now that is now the name of that commit. You know that when was what you worked on, you changed the color so that maybe you didn't like the color. You can go ahead and go back to the previous commit and undo some of those your changes. And the other thing you can do is you can check what exactly you did within the commit. So in this commit, all I did was change global settings, which is basically global styles. And I worked on the demo page because I added the class to a text within the the demo page. So those are the two things that I did. Then you can click to restore or not. I don't want to restore. Then I can close it out and keep working on other things. So yeah, the commit, Builderius did an amazing, perfect job on the history. I think that's why they took that much time before they released the history, because this is way beyond what any of us would have thought about, or at least what I would have thought about. So they did perfect job. I think thumbs up. If there's any other hand I have, give them thumbs up with those hands as well. So I think there are two other minor updates when I was reading the updates, but those are just minor updates, and those ones are these two updates. Basically, now they've added within your release export, you can also export ACF and Metabox options pages, not just your regular posts, your regular taxonomy terms and things like that. You can also export options pages. So literally, Builderius is like a one-stop for all your builder needs. The only thing left for them is to actually start creating their own custom fields and then work on the WooCommerce. If they have those two, basically they have taken up the entire plugin ecosystem. Maybe I think 3 things or 4 things if they add, they've basically become their own ecosystem. One is their translation, if they can make the translations fully compatible. 2 is if they create their own custom fields plugin or custom fields, whatever. But I think there isn't really much need for that. There is already ACF and Metabox, and if you like, you can always register your own native WordPress custom fields. There's WordPress functions for that. But then if they have those two, then they have SEO things, like basic SEO things, like adding your page SEO title, those basic SEO things, just the basic ones, like the OG open graph images, open graph title, things like that. By that time, they will have become a full a full ecosystem on their own. Like, they would have completed the whole thing, because now you can create releases that you can export to another site. So you don't need any of those what's they call those plugins, all of those restore plugins that you use for migration plugins. You don't need them. You just migrate natively with Builderius. It moves your pages, your posts, your custom post types, your taxonomy terms, everything moves together with the release, as well as your templates. So Builderius is just so powerful. The only thing is just that UI. I just wish the UI is, I don't know. They need the functions themselves work nicely. It's just the presentation of the functions that need a bit more like thought, like a bit more. Like, I don't know. It's the presentation of the functions need more, but the functions themselves are top notch. They are the best that you can think of. But just that presentation of those functions, like the drag handles for the sidebar, we need to fix these drag handles for these two sidebars. We need to stop this jumping. It's not needed. There's enough. Please tell me what. Like, see, look at this now. This variable, as long as the variable name is, there's still so much space. So we don't really need the variable thing to be this long. It's not necessary. Make it small, then give the users the option to be able to expand and collapse. That is as nothing too difficult with that. But yeah. And then they need to fix this bug, the bug with the class name, that whenever there's a comma with the class names, it breaks, or maybe any special character, I'm not sure. But basically, whenever there's a comma, it breaks. Like when there's this P, H1, H2, H2, 3, and so on, or this comma before, comma after, it breaks. So those are the two things that I would really like them to fix. The drag handles, this bug with the elements, classes, and or the selectors, and the wrap in feature. Make it to be centered, not to the side. And those are all. Do we have any questions or comments? And yeah, I'm just reading the comments. The revision name pop-up panel on the history is nicely positioned and sized, unlike the auto-BEM one. Yeah. So let me show it again. If I click the three dots and I click on the edit title, so what happens is that it is, so the way they actually set it up is that it should always be anchored. They could potentially use HTML anchor positioning that will allow you to position elements to wherever you want it to be positioned. That's what I actually did in my plugin. I'm using anchor positioning. So not really JS, but regular HTML and CSS to do anchor positioning, to position elements directly to where you want to position them. But I think for the auto-BEM feature, see, that's you notice that they're always anchoring it to the edge of the panel. That's what their initial idea. The only trouble is that because it's detected by JS, the moment you do zoom, your anchor positioning is positioned to the wrong place, basically. So that's just all that needs to be fixed. But yeah, I think that is all for today. I hope you enjoyed today's session for exploring. Like I mentioned, this channel is more exploratory, so it's not really polished. It's just me exploring the different parts of whatever I'm exploring. Then on my main channel is where I will now do a more polished video, like a more presentable video. Yeah. So apologies if you didn't like me the way I was jumping around on this one. On the main channel, you get to see the polished video if you want to get that. But so thank you all so much for joining in today. I really appreciate it. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Volodymyr. Thank you, Crushing Labs, and every other person that tuned in today. Before we go, I just want to do a quick shout out to WP Accessibility Day. Right now, the event is coming up very soon. Just barely less than 2 months, about 50 something days left, and we'll have our event. So 3 things that we really need are: 1, we need sponsors. We already have sponsors, but we need more sponsors. So please, if you feel led to sponsor as a company, the sponsorships are There are lots of sponsorships that you can do. You can also donate. You don't actually have to only sponsor. You can also just be a donor. If you want to do an individual donation, like even if it's £20, $20, or or $5, anything you want to donate, you can donate it. It will really help go a long way in making the event free. And we need to pay the speakers who come to speak. They need to be paid and other things. So that's why we need the money, and all of the hosting of the uh the the website, the Zoom. We have to pay for the Zoom events and things like that. So we are paying for so many things. That's where all of the money is going. It's a non-profit organization, so it's not like anybody is pocketing the money. The money is going back into the event and making the web accessible for all. So please, if you want to donate, just go to wpaccessibility.day/sponsors and you get to see, wpaccessibility.day/2026/sponsors, and you get to see our sponsors, and you get to see how you can also sponsor. Then the other thing we want are volunteers, people who will help out on the day of the event. So things like adding, being a moderator during the live event, because it's a Zoom event. We need moderators, we need MCs, and then we need people who will do some translation. So if you are good with translating, you can also volunteer to be a translator. You can translate to your language, any language at all, your language, mostly Spanish, French, and Spanish and French. And if you are translating Spanish or French, we do give a bit of money back for your assistance. Yeah. So you can also volunteer as a translator, and you can get to see the current organizers. Under the About page, you get to see all of the organizers who are organizing the event. Everything is out in public, so there's nothing hidden. So the 3 core organizers are Amber Hines, Beth Hannon, and Joe Dolson. Then we have team leads. June is my direct team lead. She's the one I'm working with. And we have others. And then we have different organizers. You can see my nice face over there. It's clearly visible with my very extra large glasses. But yeah. So you can go ahead and also be a part of the organizers. It's not like there's some magic that you just apply and then your application will be reviewed and you'll be accepted. That's how easy it is. So yeah, thank you all so much for today, and I'll see you in the next live stream. The next live stream will most likely be about BricsForge, because BricsForge version 4.0 beta just came out, so I might go ahead and test that out. So that might be the next live stream, but you should see a video about Builderius on my main channel by Tuesday or something like that, after I have figured out how to also fix my plugin to be compatible with Builderius. Then I should have a polished video by Tuesday or Wednesday for Builderius. Until then, keep designing and enjoy yourselves. See you next time.